My screen. Just let me know once you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. So guys, welcome to a fourth Nashik MuleSoft Meetup. In today's meetup, we're going to see how to implement a CI/CD pipeline for deploying a MuleSoft application using GitHub Actions. So GitHub Actions is nothing. It's a workflow which can automate your deployment, build, and test. It's similar to any other pipeline like Jenkins or Azure or any other pipeline. So let me start first with a safe harbor statement. Both the speaker and the host are organizing this meetup in individual capacity only, and we are not representing any companies here. The presentation is completely or strictly for learning purpose only. Organizer or presenter do not hold any responsibility that same solution will work for your business requirement. The presentation is not meant for any promotional activities. Some housekeeping activities. The recording of the meetup will be uploaded to event page within 24 hours. You can ask question at any time. You can use the chat window. You can provide the feedback at the end of the meetup. Generally, we receive very few feedback, maybe two, three. So I just ask or everyone to provide few feedbacks. Okay. So organizer myself, Jitendra Bafna. Speaker is also myself. So I have overall 14 years of experience in API and integration technology. I am a currently MuleSoft ambassador and Surat Nasik and engineering student meetup leader. I have published many videos and articles on the MuleSoft. I have expertise in setting up MuleSoft platform, runtime, fabric manager, RTF on EKS like customer hosted Mule runtime using clustering and server group. Also, I have expertise in like API-led connectivity and microservices, event-driven architecture. Then apart from that, I also work on like various migration strategies migrating from low version to higher version of Mule runtime, migrating from on-premise to cloud. So those kind of things has been done. So agenda, I will keep it simple. So first we will try to understand what is CI/CD. Then we will see what is DevOps, what is Mule Maven plugin, which is very important. Mule Maven plugin. Without Mule Maven plugin, you cannot deploy any action application. We will see GitHub action. We will see two example where we will try to deploy the application using uh, like GitHub action where we will use any point username and the password. And later also we will see deploying the application to cloud of using GitHub action where we will use the connected apps basically. Then finally we will have a trivia quiz. Okay, any doubt? Okay, so let's get started. So what is a DevOps? I think a lot of people knows about DevOps. So basically, DevOps is a culture which promote the collaboration between development and IT operation team to deploy the core fast production faster in an automated and a repeatable way, right? So DevOps basically collaborate a development and the operation team so you can do the faster deployment in automated way basically. So there are a few benefits of DevOps. Basically, you can release or deploy your code more frequently. So even like if you are doing small changes, like if you are doing a small enhancement, as soon as you check in the code into your repository, you can have an automated pipeline which will scan your code, which will build your code, which will test your code, which will check if there is any error in the code. In case is there any error, it will send the email to developer. In case there is a no error, then it will perform some unit testing, maybe sometime we can have a automated integration testing code. Then finally it will deploy the code to your like expected environment. Then there's a shorter mean time to repair. So generally we talk about like why we use DevOps. So in case like you are writing the code and like the developer checking the code more frequently. In such cases, as soon as the developer check in the code into the repository, so there is automated pipeline which will build that code in case there is any error. So the email can be triggered to the developer and developer can quickly fix the error and fault isolation. So that's what I talked just now. Okay. Then I will talk about what is CI/CD. CI/CD means a continuous integration and continuous deployment, or you can call as a continuous delivery also. So continuous integration is a development practice where developers check in the code multiple times in a day in shared repository, and each integration is verified by the automated build and automated unit testing. As I mentioned, so continuous integration mean like developer keep on check as soon as he written the small piece of code, or he will he will simply check in its code into your repository, and there is that automated pipeline which will trigger, and it will scan and build the code, and it will run the unit testing or integration testing on the top of your code. Is there any issue, the email will trigger. It depend like all, it is not always email will trigger. So what kind of flow you have written, what kind of pipeline you have written, I'm just giving a hypothetical example where you will like you may have like is there any error has been catch by your pipeline, so it will trigger the email to developer, so developer can quickly fix that error and again check in the code basically. So here again benefits, then we talk about continuous deploy. So continuous deploy is nothing, it's a ability to move the changes including feature bug into the production quicker. So it's a continuous deployment or continuous delivery. So basically as soon as like continuous integration is done, you have done UAT, you have done everything, then your code can be released to the dip, to the production environment basically. Benefits of CI/CD, so you can do the quicker releases than small code changes. So as soon as you write the small code, you can just check in the code, you can enable the CI/CD on the top of that. Faster mean time to resolution, it improved the testability, so you can integrate your unit test cases, integration test cases with your automated pipeline, and it will definitely improve the customer satisfaction. So earlier in monolithic kind of architecture, like we are not able to achieve this kind of CI/CD. Like we can do CI/CD, but shorter releases is not possible. But here with this particular APIs, applications, and like microservices, you can do it, you can do the smaller and like quicker releases. So this is the CI/CD. So what is CI? Continuous integration. So continuous integration means the developer keep on checking the code into the repository, and whereas the automated pipeline will try to scan your code, it will build and it will test the code. In case there's any error, it will trigger the email to your developer, so developer can quickly fix it. The continuous deployment, once you have done everything, you are done testing everything, the code will be released to the production. So that is the continuous deployment or continuous delivery. Any question? Okay. So, so this is how a typical pipeline looks like. Let me check something. Yeah, that's fine. You just forget about this. So basically, you have a GitHub action. So GitHub action is nothing. It's a CI/CD platform that's allow you to automate the build, test, and deployment pipeline. And GitHub action provide the capability to create the workflow that build or deploy the application on the pull and push request. So generally, like if you see the GitHub to like Jenkins platform or like Azure platform, like it's generally used to do the deployment, used to perform the build, and used to perform the testing. So with GitHub action you can write a workflow. So it's a platform where you can go and write the workflow, you can define your steps, what are the steps you need to as soon as you push the code, or as soon as it automates the build, test, and deployment basically. Right. So generally when the GitHub action get triggered, so whenever you push the code or whenever you pull the request, and there is also way like you can also trigger the pipeline manually. So there are multiple ways. So generally you start with checkout, then build, then perform the unit testing, then perform the code review, then you can copy to Nexus repository, then deploy the cloud hub. In case there any failed or success, you can send a notification. Finally you can stop. Just forget this skin, it's a GitHub action, so by mistake. Okay, so you can start with checkout, build, unit test, code review, copy to Nexus repository, deploy to cloud hub, notification, and stop. So this kind of like flow can be done with a GitHub action basically. Okay, so let me like talk with a Mule Maven plugin. So let me discuss about Mule Maven plugin. So I will ask the question: how many people knows about the Mule Maven plugin, and what is the use of Mule Maven plugin? Can anybody? Yeah, you can tell me like what is the Mule Maven plugin? Okay, Does anybody use Mule Maven plugin? Only compile the code? Yeah, Subra, you are right. Okay, okay. So let's understand. So generally, a Mule Maven plugin is allowed to build your application and deploy your MuleSoft application to CloudUp, Runtime Fabric Manager, or standalone Mule runtime. So there are various environment or various environment where you can deploy your application on various platform. You can deploy the application using Mule Maven plugin. So you have to configure your Mule Maven plugin into pom.xml and like for deploying your application to CloudUp, Runtime Fabric Manager, or standalone MuleSoft application. So it is also capable or undeploying your application, correct? So you can deploy, you can undeploy application from the CloudUp or RTF or standalone Mule runtime. So currently there is a 4 authentication mechanism supported by Mule Maven plugin. So everybody knows about Anypoint username and the password. It also support auth token if you are using some OAuth kind of integration and like SSO single sign-on. In that case, you can generate the token and you can pass that token. And then connected apps. So we will going to see the example with the connected app. Then you have something called server. So basically, you can keep your Anypoint platform username password in setting.xml and you can access using this server tag into your pom.xml. So these are the 4 way you can use to deploy your application using Mule Maven plugin. So these are the 4 authentication mechanism. Let me go with each and every parameter. So generally, like when you configure the Mule Maven plugin, the top parameter will be the CloudUp deployment. If you are deploying the application on the CloudUp, for standalone, it will be the standalone. For Runtime Fabric Manager, it will be Runtime Fabric Manager. Then you have to like URI. So by default, if you don't set URI parameter, it will take https anypoint.mulesoft.com. So if let's consider in case if you want to deploy your application or if your Anypoint platform in EU region, right? So in that case, like you have to set this URI, which will be EU1 hyphen anypoint.mulesoft.com. Then Mule version. So you have to define that Mule version. So let's consider you can define 4.2.0, 4.3.0, 4.2.2, 4.4.0. So whatever run like whatever version you on which you have to deploy your application. Then I mentioned you can also pass the username and password. So this is the CloudUp username and CloudUp password. So basically it's a Anypoint username and Anypoint username password. So this is the first way or first authentication mechanism. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, Jackie.
So this is the first authentication mechanism. Then application name. You have to pass the application name of your CloudUp. So what is your name, like name on which you need to deploy application? Then artifact. It's not like absolute part of your jar files to deploy it. So but this is not a mandatory field. So like you can ignore this. So by default, it will pick the file from the target folder there, or like in case if you set up any distribution management or repository, it will pick from there. Then you have to pass environment, which is the very important. Without environment, it cannot deploy the application because it will never it will how it will come to know where I need to deploy the application. If you have any runtime properties or application properties you need to pass at while deployment, you can use this properties tag. So for example, properties and this key value pair I need to pass, you can pass n number of properties. Then workers, so on how many workers you need to deploy the application. By default, this value is 1. You can mention like 2, 3, 4, whatever worker you want. So worker type, so these are the worker types supported. So you have to you have to pass micro, small, medium, large, x large, xx large, or 4x large. So those kind of worker size you can pass. Then region, so this worker type is not mandatory. Default value is micro. If you want some higher type, you can pick one from this. Then region, so by default the region is not mandatory. So US East one is the default region where your application will be deployed. Otherwise, if you want to deploy your application in any specific region, you can mention, you can pass this parameter. Object store v2, so you need to pass this always. It's not mandatory. If your organization is supporting object store version 1 and object store version 2, both, in that case you don't have to pass it. If doesn't, you have to pass this object store v2 equals to true. Then persistent queue, if you need to enable any persistent queue for the application, you can pass this. You can pass the business group, in which business group you have to deploy application, business group ID. Then you can also pass the deployment timeout parameter, so it's in millisecond. Then server, in case if you are using settings.xml, right, and you don't want to use the username and password authentication mechanism, you can use this server tag basically. So in server you can pass the id of your settings.xml, and that id will be correspond to the anypoint username and the anypoint password in the settings.xml. Then you can skip. So so when set to true, skip the plugin deployment goal basically. Skip deployment verification. Generally when you deploy the application, so it takes some time, right? And even like just once it upload the jar, and you don't want to see like what happened, so it will like the pipeline will end basically. If you are making this as a true, by default it's a false. There's a third kind of authentication mechanism, auth token. In that case, if you are configuring auth token, you don't have to pass username and password, or you don't have to pass the server also, right? The fourth kind of authentication is connected app client ID, connected app client secret, and connected app grant type. So this is the like fourth kind of authentication which we will going to learn in today's demonstration. Then if you want to apply any latest patch while deploying the application, you just can pass this value as a true basically. So these are some properties that we can configure on your Mule Maven plugin. Any question on this Mule Maven plugin? I hope it's clarified, right? Okay. Then we will also discuss about a connected app. So connected app feature provide a framework that enable an external application to integrate with any point platform using APIs through OAuth and OpenID Connect. And connected apps help user delegate their access without sharing sensitive credential or giving full control of their accounts to third parties. And action taken by connected apps are audited, and user can revoke access at any time. So what is this like? So basically you can configure a connected app in your anypoint platform access management. So once you configure that connected app, it will give a client ID and the client secret. So basically that client ID and client secret can be used to access the resources, or like access the resources on the anypoint platform. Like, so generally so then you will have a question, what is difference between that anypoint username and the password and connected app? So basically with anypoint username and password you can log in into your anypoint platform, but with connected app you cannot log in into your platform. But see, basically connected app is authorized, like with connected app you, like you are authorized to access this particular resources, whereas anypoint platform and anypoint password it use to authentication into your anypoint platform, also you can access the resources, right? So that's the difference. So basically with connected app, like any third party can access any resources via APIs, or like via APIs or via using like OAuth 2.0 or OpenID Connect. So with Mule Maven plugin, it only support a grant type, which is the client credentials. So like if you want to deploy the application, so connected app grant type must be client credential, but connected app support other grant types also, like authorization codes and all those things. Okay, so that's the main difference. So basically if you don't want to share your anypoint platform username and a password, sometime it might be possible your anypoint username, anypoint platform might be enabled with a single sign or any third party identity management, right? In that case, like as per your governance, so you don't have to create any password, and like so in that case connected apps basically. No, it is like it's not always mandatory. Basically, it will deploy to the default region, US East one. In case like if you want to deploy it on any other region like US East 2 or US East 3, so you need to like you need to mention it basically. But in case like if you have set up some default environment on any platform, I don't think you have to give the region. It will automatically deploy in that particular region. Okay, so let's get started. So the first I have created a simple application. So where we have a HTTP listener, and it just logging the data, saying success. Okay. Then the important thing is the pom.xml, right? So in pom.xml, if you go under build, there's a plugins. Under plugins, you will find a Mule Maven plugin. And once you once you create the application, this particular settings will be not available. So what you have to do, you have to write a configuration tag, then where you want to deploy the application, cloud up, right? And you have to provide the URI, which is not mandatory if you want to deploy your application in US region. But if you want to deploy an application in EU region, so you may have to provide EU1 hyphen any point mulesoft.com. Then there's a like mule version. So this dollar $app dot runtime means like these are the variable which we will going to pass via pipeline. I don't want to hard code all this value, so we will pass to the pipeline. Then you can have a username and a password. We are seeing like first level of authentication. Then you have to pass a cloud of application dot name, environment, region, okay, workers. So how many workers you want, worker type, and object store. And region is not mandatory. Even you can even you don't pass it, it will not filled. Okay. So any doubt on this? So I have just configured my Mule Maven plugin. So Mule Maven plugin is very important for deploying your MuleSoft application to Cloud Hub, Runtime Fabric Manager, or any customer hosted Mule runtime. So I'm providing URI, mule version, username, password, application name, this dollar curly bracket and this particular thing and curly bracket close represent a variable which we can pass through the pipeline. If you hard code it here, in case if you want to change the worker type, workers, you have to come here and you have to just change it and you have to just check in the code again. So better you can pass it from the pipeline. I will going to show you how can you pass that, right? Any doubt on this Mule Maven plugin configuration? So it's a simple, right? You have to pass the environment region, like like in which region you need to deploy application if multiple regions are supported. So like Sirsa, like for like most like if you see the latest version of Anypoint platform, and for most of the organization, object store version 2 is not enabled. Like if you don't pass this value while deploying the application, you will get the error. Object store version 2 is not enabled for your organization. So in case if object store sorry sorry, object store version 1 is not enabled for your organization, right? In case if you're getting such error, it means the object not your, in this case you have to pass this value object store version 2 equals to true. Okay. So next thing, so I have already created one application. I will just show first. I will take one example here. So GraphQL. So this is my GitHub repository. You can log in into your GitHub repository, and here you can see your code, your issues, pull request. Then you have something called action. So this is the action which we can use to build, deploy, and test your application. I will click on this action. Right? You can see it here. Then you can just click on setup. So simply once you click on setup workflow, it will give some initial workflow. So where like you have to pass the name of the workflow on. So on means like when I want to trigger this particular pipeline. So basically on the push of branch main, on the pull request on the branches main, this workflow dispatch, like if you define this, in that case it will give an option to build your job or build your pipeline or build your application manually basically, right? Then under jobs you have a build, and under build you have multiple steps where you are checking out your code. And this is just example. I will going to show you a real pipeline. I'm just walking through with a sample workflow. Then this is here a marketplace, in case like if you want to check out the code, so you can search it here and it will give the checkout by action. This checkout is by action. You can click on this. So here it will give the code. So how can you check out the code and what are the parameters you can pass with checkout, right? So this is here. Then if I want to cache something, like I want to cache the Maven dependency, you can use the cache. Here it will give some information related to cache. So it uses cache 2.17 with, and these are the parameters we need to pass. Okay. So got it. So here like this is the marketplace. You can find lot of actions in this particular marketplaces. And also if I want to upload any artifact, right, you can search for upload. So you can see upload a build artifact. So what are the things you need to pass? You can see everything here. So they provide a good document. Here it provide all the documentation. You can go through that, right? So yeah, here is the marketplace where like if you want to do any specific step or any specific action, you can search it here. If I want to download any artifact, I can search for download artifacts. So you can see it, download artifacts. So it's available everything. So yeah, if I want to do some Maven package, so like packaging or application, or it will provide all this command right now. So you can see upload package to cloud.io. No, so there are a lot of things available. So you can search it for those in this particular. So but this is a simple pipeline. So let me go back to my actual pipeline, which we will going to use in today's demo. I will share this code with you, and I will share this file with you guys. So don't worry. Yeah, this is my code. So basically, this is a simple application, okay, which I already check in into GitHub, and this is my action tab, where or like once you create a flow, right? So here you can see like like status of each and every flow. And apart from that, like once you create the flow, it will create a folder .github slash workflows, and you will find that particular main.yaml inside that. Okay, so you can see like I'm just saying name is a demo pipeline. I can edit this. Okay, and like I'm saying on push of branch main on pull request, whenever I will push the code to the main branch, or whenever I will do the pull request on main branch, it will trigger the pipeline. So jobs, so basically build. So the first job is build and the second job is deploy. So I have a two jobs, build and deploy. The first application will get built. Once it get built, then it will deploy the application. Where I want to run this job, I want to run this job in Ubuntu latest. It support Mac, it support Windows, so you can provide that. But I will say Ubuntu latest. Then we under job you have to provide the steps. So where first I am checking out the code, okay, then I'm doing the cache. This is very important. Why I am doing the cache? So basically, whenever it will build your application for first time, it will cache all the Maven dependency locally. So every time, like every time, instead of like fetching the Maven dependency from some repository or some Maven repository, right? So it will cache all the repository under this folder, right? And it will generate one key, like so like runner.os, in this case it will be the Linux Maven hash file. So it will just has the pom.xml which is available in your project, and it will generate the key. So every time, so why it generate the key? Basically, in case if any dependency change, right, it has to download those dependency again and just want to cache to the local repository, right? So with this key, if key get changed for next time, right, in that case something got changed in pom.xml, and it will ensure that those repository needs to be downloaded. So how this job will come to know my pom.xml is changed? So it will with this particular hash key. So basically generate the hash key every time. So like if hash key doesn't match with the previous hash key, it means something has been changed in your pom.xml. So it will download those repository or those dependency, and it will cache that. In case there's nothing has been changed, like your key is not changed, in this case it will not download any repository. It will use that cache dependency, and it will use it, right? Then you have to set up JDK. It's very important. You need to like set up the JDK. Then you are performing the build. So you are doing the Maven build. So using file pom.xml. Then you have to stamp the artifact, which is very important. You need to stamp your artifact to ensure that every time like you are uploading a new jar file or like latest jar file to your repository and deploying a latest jar file, basically, right? So here you can see this is the artifact name. You are just reading the jar file from your target folder. Then you are generating the hash, a commit hash, and then you are adding that to your jar file. So whenever it will upload your artifact to your like any Nexus repository or anywhere, so it will like add that stamp or commit stamp with that jar file, so that you can ensure that the latest jar file is deployed to the repository or to the cloud hub. Then you are just renaming that particular jar file from artifact name 1 to artifact name 2. So artifact name 1 is this, and artifact name 2 append with your commit hash basically. Okay, then come to deploy. So for deploy again, I need it's needs build. So this for deployment, I have to ensure that like the previous step has been completed. Otherwise, it will like if previous step got failed, so deploy will never execute. So need means this. If you are not saying need build, in this case even build failed, deploy will run. So you have to ensure that you need to run deploy when needs when build is get successful. I need to deploy also on Ubuntu latest. Then I have to check out again. Then I want to cache, so I'm just caching the deposit like dependency while deploying also. Then I'm just downloading the artifact at the master. So basically, if you see here, I have defined one step where I'm uploading the artifact, right, and into the local GitHub, and again GitHub storage, and again it will download. So like in case if you want to upload or download from Nexus or anything, you have to define a distribution management in your pom.xml. Okay, now I want to deploy the cloud up. So let me do one thing. Let client id and client secret, we will not go. So username, so I'm setting few environment variable. So secrets dot any point username, secrets dot any point password. So basically at a repository level or at a GitHub organization level, you can set up your secrets. Basically I will going to show you how to set up the secret, and this is the way you can access your secret. I'm accessing the my GitHub secrets, secrets dot any point username. Any point username is nothing, it's a variable which I have defined into the secrets. Dollar secrets dot any point password. Any point password is again variable that I have defined into the secrets. And this is the environment variable username where I'm storing any point username. This is the environment variable where I'm storing the password. Then the artifact name, this is the jar file. I am just just assigning to this artifact name. Then the command comes mvm package deploy minus d mule deploy. So environment, so I have defined some environment variable, right? So if you see there's this variable. So how do I pass the environment variable? Minus d or hyphen d environment equals to sandbox. Now I'm passing application name, cloudup.application.name. So if you see, it should match with this cloudup.application.name. I'm passing the application name minus the username. So I'm reading the username from this environment variable, and environment variable getting the username from the secret. So you can see that dollar username, dollar password. Then I'm passing the mule runtime minus d worker type micro and minus d workers equals to 1. So I'm deploying my application on micro worker and with a worker 1 basically.
So, Jackie, we have three questions. Uh,
Yeah, Akhil, so you can do that like settings.xml. You have to keep that settings.xml in your at a application level, but you cannot define. I don't think you can define at a GitHub level. So it is not good idea to keep settings.xml at like for each and every application, and then you copy to the .m2 folder, and from .m2 folder you can use this So like I will tell you, let me show that. See, Aman, it's a very simple logic. If you are going to next line, you have to put a black slash, right? On Linux. If I put everything on one line, we don't have to put the yeah. So Akhil, you can definitely define a settings.xml. So like every time, like you have to keep the settings.xml in in your on your application root folder, and every time you have to copy that settings.xml into .m2 .m2 folder. And once you done that, you can definitely use that server instead of using username and password. That is possible, but I will not I like it's not good idea to keep username and password in settings.xml, because you are exposing your password and username with everyone basically, right? But yeah, in case yeah, okay. What is the other for each app? Yes, we have to do that. It is Kumar, because we are setting up the operating system and OS. There should be JDK for for running or for building your application. So like it's like yeah, see the cache, cache is in .m2 folder, which will be on the GitHub side basically, right? We don't have directly access to that folder, so that will be on some on some cloud basically. like even it runs the Ubuntu every time, new Ubuntu every time, but the repository will be like it will be the same repository every time, basically, it will not going to create a new M2 every time. Okay, so it will be the like shared storage somewhere. So from like shared storage in GitHub, basically, and it will access that shared storage, for building your application. Okay, so I hope I clarify all the things. I will come, Ajit, don't worry, I will come on that. Okay, so I will come on that. So let me first save the application. Just a minute. Let me delete the application from my Anypoint platform. So just I want to show you. Okay, I've deleted this. Then I have to go to GitHub Action, and if I done any changes there, I don't think I have done any changes. Let me cancel the changes. Okay, let me check in the code. I will go to this action. Here you can see everything, right? This is the place where you can see everything. Let me check in the code because I have done some changes, I think. So I will use git command. So first git add dot git commit minus m move changes. That's it. You can put any command. Nothing to commit. So let me do put one space and let me save it. And I want to do some commit. I will push it. As soon as I push the code, it will trigger the flow. You will see it here. Yeah, you can see it triggered the flow. So it will build. So you click on build, you can see all the logs here. So let's wait. Just sometime it take time, sometime it doesn't take time. Okay, so first time I am running it, it may take time. Second time it doesn't take time. So guys, if you have any question, yeah, Prashant, we can, I can definitely. Too, I haven't got your question. Like, why we have to define what? I don't understand your question. Basically, I told you like we need to define the parameter. Why you go? Why you will going to hard code the things into your pom.xml, right? I'm not setting any JDK on a cloud hub. I'm just setting up the JDK on basically on the that server, like Linux server, from where we will do the deployment. Correct? I'm not setting up any JDK on on the cloud hub. So when we deploy the application, the MuleSoft automatically take care of all those requirements. Here I am just setting up Ubuntu, and from Ubuntu I am setting up a JDK from where I can build and where I can deploy my application. Basically, it's a runner. It's a GitHub action runner. On runner, we the runners runs on some operating system. Or for that operating system, we require some kind of JDK basically. Without JDK, you cannot build your application. You cannot run all your Maven's commands and all those things. Prashant, you can just contact me. We can have a discussion on that. I can definitely help you out there. Okay. Uh, so it start deploying your application. You can see that here, right? So you can go to build. So you can see all the logs on the build. So you can see everything is correct, and you can see set up the job. You can see run action checkout. So see, Togo, you asked some question where like set up the JDK. It is not setting up a JDK on your Mule Cloud Hub. It is setting up the JDK on Ubuntu from where your like GitHub action runner will run. Then you are building up, then you are stamping artifact with the commit hash. then you are running it. Now it's deploying. Go to deploy. Code run whatever steps we have defined, you can see it here. So you can see, let me check what happened. If application deploy, you can see application is successfully deployed into your cloud hub. Basically you can see that, right? So it's very simple. So like there is a no rocket science there. It's very simple. You just have to write the proper steps, and you can make use of this marketplace. You can see application is deployed. Just check the log of cloud hub. It will see, it will say like deploying application, everything, like everything is successful here. So no, like no errors. So let me go back to top and let me go to action. Okay, you can see everything is successful. Basically in case like it will automatically trigger the email to you, even it fail. Like let me show that mail also. If I can log in into my Gmail account, as soon as like it will trigger the mail basically in few minutes. So you should receive the mail once the application is successfully deployed, or even application got filled. You receive the mail. Okay, you will receive the mail from GitHub automatically. Okay, now let me go to a second demonstration, which is very, very important. Nowadays most of the people are using this particular demonstration, connected app basically, right? As I mentioned, like instead of passing any point username and any point password, you can make use of the connected app, which is more secure. You don't have to expose your any point username and password, or you don't have to expose your any point credential, because with any point credential, anybody can log in into your any point platform basically. With connected app, you can definitely authorize, you are authorized to access the resources. Like it depends what kind of accesses you provided to that particular connected app, right? Depending on that, you can access the resources, right? So that's why I will suggest like other way why we go with connected app. Like for most of the organization, if you see, they have enabled the identity management on their anypoint platform basically, correct? Yeah, so we Togo, this is, I don't think this is the correct question basically. So OpenID Connect is a, it's a connected app, just provide the client ID and the client credential that you can use, like that you can use to generate the tokens and everything using OpenID Connect basically. So right, no, so you can use like you can use grant type equals to authorization code, or grant type equals to client credentials, whatever. So like connected app, it's nothing like, it's on the top of your OpenID Connect basically, but there's a no difference. Like they work, like they complement each other basically. Okay, yeah. So yeah, so I will explain more on this once I will configure this. So Sandeep, you have to go to actions, and you have to search for like sonar cube, like where you will get the action, like how to define the action. And like once you define the action into your that YAML file, and then it will start. And whatever, like you need to add some configuration into your pom.xml, you need to add some sonar cube plugins and everything into your like pom.xml. Then it will, like it will easy, like then it, like it can also scan your code, or it can do all the static analysis of your code. Okay, so let me come back to the connected app. So for connected app, the first step, we will go step by step. Let me go to access menu. Okay, under access management, you can see something called connected apps. You can say create app. Okay, so Togo, you asked me some question. A grant type, like it is also supporting like authorization code, password, JWT, bearer token. So it's nothing like you can also generate the token similar to OpenID Connect. So like it's like it complement with OpenID Connect basically. Like there's no such a big difference there. So also you can act on a behalf. So we will use the client credential. As I mentioned, when you want to do the deployment using Mule Maven plugin, it always use a client credential. It doesn't support authorization code, password, or JWT bearer. I will select client type. I will say Nashik action demo. This is my connected app. Okay, I will just say add scope. I am giving some accesses. So I want to give some access to exchange also, like then I can give the access to all the, like read application, write application, delete application, download application. So whatever access, you have to ensure that, like the whatever access you are giving to like this particular connected app, it should able to deploy the application. Then I will give some access to a view access, view organization, view environment. This is important. So for deploying the application, you have to ensure that you are giving the access to your organization and the environment. Then also if you want anything else, that's it, you can say next. Then you can select the business group. So my business group is self. Then you need to select the environment, then just say review, then say add scope. Then you can say save. Once you can save, you will see the client ID and the client secret. Let me copy this. Okay, I have copied that. Now I have to go to pom.xml. I will just comment out this username and the password. Then I have to provide connected app client ID. Then I will just pass a variable client ID. I will keep it simple, client ID, connected app client secret. Then you have to pass dollar client secret, connected app. It's a grant type. I'm writing properly. It's a client credential. You can hard code it this because this value will not change. So let me just verify if I given the correct name or not. So grant type app secret. Yeah, everything is good. Let me save this. I commented username and the password. We are using the second level authentication. Now I'm come to a secret. How to set up a secrets basically, right? So if you go to your application repository, under you can go to settings. Under settings, you can go to a secrets, where for whom we need to set up the secret actions. So here I have set up the anypoint username and anypoint password. Once you set up your secrets, you cannot see them. But you can update the username and password, but you cannot see them. Now I will add some secret. I will add a client ID. Let me copy this client ID. Add secret. I will add new repository secret. I've set up a client ID and the client secret. It's done. Okay. The next thing, even like, let me check whether we can set it at organization level also. There is a option, but I cannot see in my option. You can set up the at organization level also. Okay. You can do that because if you set up at organization level, you don't have to set up for each and every repository. You can use that one. Okay. So I have set up my secrets and everything is okay. Now I have to go to my .github.workflows main.yaml, and in main.yaml, like let me edit this file. Basically what I will do, so basically I will have a two environmental variable which is client ID, and I want to read it from secrets dot, I think it's I've written like this only, right? Client ID, and I have to provide client secrets dot. So this is what I have provided. That, let me give some space here, and I can remove this particular username instead of that. Let me check what we have passed there. Client ID. I can copy this part, this part. Let me change this. So just instead of username and password, I'm just assigning this client ID and the client secret, and this client ID and client secret will map to your connected client ID and the client secret into your pom.xml. Let me save everything. So now I have to do the two commit, right? This commit, and I have to do the commit from local. So let me do first this commit changes, but I will stop this pipeline because I haven't changed the main commit. So you can just cancel the run, which is fine. Okay, now I have to commit this particular changes. As soon as I will change this, but you can you can define in your git ignore file. If you whenever you want to do a commit with meme.yaml, you don't start the basically you don't start the job. You can do within the git ignore file. So let me do one thing first. I have to pull it. So git pull origin, because I have done some changes. I will just do git add dot git commit minus m connected apps git post origin, not its main, sorry. As soon as it will commit the code, it will run the job. You can see connected apps. It start building it. Any question on connected apps? So I will come to your on your question, Togo. As I mentioned, we have one more mechanism where we can use the auth token basically, right? So with if you want to generate the auth token, right, you can use any kind of OpenID Connect also basically, and even like connected have also provide some kind of API through which you can generate your token like OpenID Connect basically. So at the end, it also they complement each other basically. So you can generate the auth token instead of passing this connected app username and the client ID and client ID password. You can simply pass the auth token. So there are some kind of API available for connected app to generate the tokens and all those things. Is this clear your question, Togo? Hopefully it will deploy the application. Let me check. Go to runtime manager. That's fine. So it's deploying your applications. You can see it here, right? So with you can see you can deploy your application with your connected app also. You can see you receive the mail also. If anything got failed or no, you receive the mail for that also. You can see that here. Sandeep, I can provide the step, not now, but Sandeep, you can contact me. I have a steps. I can give that steps to you. Okay. So I will add something in POM. I have a some dependency we need to add to pom.xml, and we need to add some actions basically into your GitHub YAML file, and that is how you can do that. I will provide those steps. But for GitHub to connect the sonar cube, you require a SaaS based sonar cube. So SaaS based sonar cube basically, in case you if you have an enterprise GitHub, so the GitHub is located on your on premise. In that case, you can use the local sonar cube also. So just you have to ensure that so whatever. So it depends from which email ID you have checked in the code basically. Let consider you are the developer one. You have checked in some code and build run on that particular code, so the email will go to that particular developer, right? If I am developer two, I have done some changes, I've done the check-in, I build it, that it automatically build it. The mail will come to me basically. It GitHub automatically understand that. So who have checked in the code, so depending on checking it, the mail will trigger to him. Okay. Any question? So I will share this code with you guys. Okay. So any other question before we move ahead? Yeah, like connected app mostly it is used like to used by a third party to access the resources from like Anypoint platform without logging into Anypoint platform basically. Okay, I think let me go to next slide. Any question and answer? Any question? So nominate yourself for next meetup speaker and suggest the topic as well. So it's a quiz time. So like you can join the Nashik meetup group, and if you have any question, you can just send it to meetup at the mulesoft.com. Thank you. So I will start with 2 minutes. So just I want to make sure my application get up and running. If you have any question on this particular thing, just let me know. I will share this file with you, so you can also try. Like you can also try yourself. So I'm waiting for my because the first time deployment is faster and second time it take bit of time when we do the redeployment. The reason behind that because like it has to do a zero downtime deployment. So it do some configuration changes and all those things. It does it takes some kind of time. The application is started. Yeah. I hope you understand this particular session, how we can use the GitHub action for deploying your application. No, nobody have any question. I hope you understand this session, right? Yeah, the application is started. The connected app will be successfully in some time. So you can see the application is started successfully. Yeah, it, it is success. You can see that. You can click. You can see build and deploy both are successfully. Here you can mention like a code review with Sonar Cube. There can be a do that. Okay. So let me go and just I will just yeah, Sandeep, you need to use same, just your pom.xml will change, right? So instead of like you are using the cloud app deployment, you have something called standalone deployment. For standalone deployment, you have a different parameter. Let me show that also you. Google deploying MuleSoft application on RTF. So Sandeep, see, like when we talk about RTF, so everything remains same. Like you will going to use like this Mule Maven plugin only. Configuration it will come as a runtime fabric deployment. You have to pass a different parameter like for RTF Mule version 4.0 username password. You can use connected app also, application name like target environment, like like multi-cluster replicas, all those things. Like so only the parameter change basically, but the process will remain same. Is this answer your question, Sandeep? Okay, I'll yeah, I will just stop the recording and I will start with quiz.